Now it is.
Okay. Hey, welcome to the Rant. This is Daniel Arena with Sam Carus, and we're going to be talking today about the Boston Red Sox and the New York Mets, both having abysmal seasons up to this point. Um, this is the first episode in this series, basically going through the hardships of being a fan of the teams that we are fans of.
Boston and New York.
In general, there are exceptions, as the Celtics are proving this year.
Correct. Today we're going to talk about baseball, which is definitely both the Boston and New York. If you're a Met fan, at least, not a Yankee fan, the Yankees are far and away the best team in the league this year. But if you're a Mets fan or a Red Sox fan, definitely a frustrating year for you. So Daniel has some kind words to talk about the Red Sox here to start us off.
All right, let me just this is going to be a little while, so make yourselves comfortable. Let me just get a few things out of the way. So the Red Sox are 6-16 this year. They are, in my opinion, they're the worst team in baseball, but the Pirates have that. They just haven't played as many games as us. As a sports fan, as a Boston sports fan, let's just say I'm not used to losing this much. We're used to success from the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, whatever. So this is a hard time to be a fan of the Red Sox. My dad and I were talking earlier this season about, getting excited. It's going to be 60 games. You only need to be the 8th out of 15 in your league to make the playoffs in this season, which is nothing to be scared of. That's very easy, very accomplishable. We're thinking about buying the package to watch the game if we don't live in the Boston area. And, it's safe to say now that we will not be buying the package. We are 16 and a third of the way through the season. And honestly, just a disgrace to watch. So let's just talk about the Rays for a second. So we were swept by the Rays. We're currently playing the Yankees. We've dropped 3 straight against the Yankees. We were swept by the Rays with an average run differential of 7. So each game we lost by at least 7 runs, an average of 7 runs. I just want to get this out of the way. They're a good team. They're a good team. They have good pitching, Snell, Morton, whatever. But they are not world beaters, and they certainly should not have beaten us 4 games in a row without competition with an average of 7 runs a game. That is an absolute disgrace.
I will say this about that series. It's not like I don't fault the Red Sox offense, and I don't fault the Red Sox starting pitching. Red Sox starting pitching is not good. It's not good. Nathan Eovaldi's it's just not good. It's not a good ball club at all. But you got to be down 4-3 or 3-2 and have just a pathetic low A-ball bullpen pitcher come in. And the bullpen, it's really all the bullpen. I think if they even had a feasible bullpen, a decent, maybe a subpar bullpen, they would maybe be 500. But you just know when anyone's coming in from that bullpen, it's an automatic terrible inning for the Red Sox. It's really disgusting.
It is really hard to win a baseball game. I'll say this. It's really hard to win a baseball game when the bullpen is right. You're right with the bullpen because they're horrible. We can't trust anyone. Matt Barnes, who was supposed to be our in and out, 2 innings, no runs, maybe 1 hit guy who goes 7 and 8, and then we bring in the closer. He has been nothing short of atrocious this year. Comes in the game, loads the bases. He's walking people. He's horrible. And to bring him in, expecting him to not give up a run. I mean, we're bringing him in. We usually bring him in. We're up 6-4. We're up 3-2. Just get us through the inning. We're bringing him in. We're down 6-3, and we're expecting him to hold something off. Last night we played the Yankees. He gives up 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and we lose. It's really hard to win a game in the MLB nowadays when you're giving up 4, 5 runs to the first 3 innings of the game. It's
Now,
absolutely starting pitching.
sorry to cut you off, but when you look at the Red Sox averages, like hitting wise, they're really not bad. Seriously, a lot of these guys are off to fast starts. Pilar has been great so far, batting above 300. Former Met catcher Kevin Plawecki has been fantastic. He's almost batting a 400 clip. He's unbelievable. He's
We
batting.
have good bats. We have good bats from people that honestly we didn't expect to have good bats because
Well,
guys like Devers, Martinez, Bogarts, they're not out of this world this season. They're
now
okay. I don't even think Devers is over 200. It's guys that we're not expecting that are actually playing well. Like
Verdugo's
Peraza is a
good.
good. You're right with Pilar, but it's hard to put the whole game on them. We're expecting them to score 8 runs a game, and that's just not realistic. Especially in pitching on the, you're not going to score 8 runs a game.
Well, here's why they lost last night. The Red Sox, actually, like the bats got going earlier in the game, but former Met Chris Mazza took the hill for them. He went 3 innings. He got through 3. He gave up 8 hits and 4 runs and 1 walk. He was atrocious. He really was. He was terrible. He's got almost a 7 ERA in the year. And then you look at Weber came in, Brazier, and Walden came in, all of whom have above 6 ERAs. Walden being the worst with the 10.13. But I mean, at least you guys know you have bats. And honestly, in the offseason, you just have bad pitching. But I think the Red Sox are in a much better spot than the Mets for the future.
So let me finish it. So here's a way out. So obviously we lose Chris Sale to injury. We lose Eduardo Rodriguez to injury. We lose David Price. We lose Mookie Betts, right? We lose Brock Holt, guys that were staples to our team last year, and we just lose them. And it's unavoidable. It wasn't like we just had to get rid of them. Mookie and David Price in our position, we just couldn't pay them. We couldn't do it, and you understand that. In the MLB, in my opinion, there's no such thing as tanking because with the way the farm systems work, it's not like the NBA and the NFL where you draft a rookie and all of a sudden he makes an immediate impact and he's a rookie. That's not how the MLB works. It's just not how the MLB works. So for us to be, quite frankly, throwing away this season is absolutely horrible to watch. It's horrible to watch as a fan because you just want your team to play with some attitude and some pride. It looks like we're not even trying. I'll give you a perfect example. Ryan Brazier came in, I want to say this is 3 games ago. We're playing the Yankees. It's maybe 4-4. It's a close game. It's 4-3, 4-4, bottom of the 7th. Brazier comes in as a close for us. And this sums up our season perfectly. He gets the first guy to ground out. Meat of the order. It might have been Stanton, right? Gets Stanton to ground out. Maybe Voit comes up, flies out. He walks the next batter. Fine. 2 outs, man on first.
Yeah.
I think maybe Gleyber Torres is up. 3-2 count. Obviously, the runners are the infield's going to be playing back, right? Brazier decides to balk because he thinks the first baseman's holding the guy on in a 3-2 count. God knows why, right? A 4-year-old playing T-ball knows that the first baseman's not going to be holding the runner on when it's a 3-2 count. He balks the runner over to second. Whoever's up, Gleyber Torres, hits a bloop single into left field. Hugo, who has no arm, gets the ball. Couldn't even get the ball to home plate. And whoever was on first walks to second, scores, and the Yankees end up putting up 3 that inning, game over. Not even close. And that is the epitome of our season. It is stupid mistakes from a atrocious pitching staff, the inability of our bats to get going late in the game to make these games even remotely close. The games aren't even close that we lose. It's not like we're losing 4-3, 5-4, where they're hitting, little dinky singles to walk up. We are getting blown out. Flat out, blown out. It is horrible to watch.
Yeah.
The Yankees are rivals. I hate them with all my heart. And we cannot even get on the same field as them and just show some sort of life. We are atrocious. It's especially hard to be a fan nowadays because the New York Yankees are embarrassing us like it's no one's business. They're embarrassing everyone, but especially us. We can't even think to compete with the Yankees.
Now, switching gears to talk about Now my passion, the New York Mets. Now,
Perfect.
listen, it's really disgusting. It is. It's just Brody Van Wagen. I'm calling you out. I've called you out on Twitter. I've called you out on Instagram. I've called you out on TikTok. Whatever the social media may be, I've called you out because you are an atrocious general manager. You've traded away the entire pitching farm system. And now I want to read this. I want to read their lineup since they just released it. They start a 4-game set in Miami tonight to take on the first place Marlins. And the lineup is Brandon Nimmo's batting leadoff. McNeil's back from injury. JD, Conforto, Robinson Cano. Pete's batting sixth. Dom Smith, Wilson Ramos, and Ahmed Rosario. That bottom half of the order this year has been atrocious. Dominic Smith is the only bright part of this team besides Luis Guillorme and Andres Jimenez. Ahmed Rosario stinks this year. He's the worst defensive shortstop on the team. Ramos is slow. He's old. He's a terrible fielder, and all he does in his at-bats is ground out the short. Pete sucks this year for some reason. It's useless home runs. Now, Pete, I love you. I really do. I love you. You're a great player, and your fielding has been so much better this year. But the main problem is the pitching. The pitching's atrocious. They came into the year with this rotation. Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Marcus Stroman, Steven Matz, Rick Porcello, or Michael Wacha. Now listen to this rotation. deGrom, hurt. Okay, fine. Walker Lockett, Robert Zellman, Porcello, Wacha's hurt. Franklin Kilmo will probably get the start. And then God knows who will start. Oh, Steven Matz. Oh.
Let me just before you keep going. Steven Matz is a disgrace of a player. He's a disgrace of a baseball player, and he is probably having the most overrated season. He is underperforming like no one can even think this year. I'll just get that out of the way.
It really is true.
He's atrocious. Okay, keep going.
I mean, like he's listen. He's from Long Island. Everyone's rooting for him throughout the ranks when he got drafted, when he came up, and he's been decent. He's been very decent. It's never the problem with this sinker or with this fastball. If you can't get a secondary pitch over for a strike, he's done. You might as well pull him right there. You might as well take it behind the stadium, put him in a cab, and send him off. If he can't get his curveball over, which he hasn't been able to do this year, he gets pounded. And you saw it again in Philly when he was pitching extremely well. 5 innings of 1-run ball, few hits, and then he implodes. Gives up a homer to Real Muto, gives up another 3-run base clearing double to Hoskins, another one to Harper. He gets so upset after a base hit. You see him smash his face into his glove. He curses himself. It's just a bunch of mental midgets on this team for the New York Mets. And I mainly blame it on the general manager because the Mets they're the definition of just within striking distance. So they're just within striking distance to make the playoffs or get something going. And they trade away the entire farm system for that year. They trade away what the future holds to get a veteran guy like Marcus Stroman. They did last year. They got rid of Anthony Kay, and numerous other prospects. Stroman had half a year of above 4 ERA ball, and this year opts out without even playing a game. So it's just extremely frustrating to have an incompetent GM, incompetent owners. Thankfully, this team will sell this year, but it's truly abysmal. And once they get behind, they have no fight, and it's just disgusting.
So right now, I'm looking at the lineup right now, and to tell you the truth, the bats haven't been awful this year. They really haven't.
They have the best average in the league. They do.
Robinson Cano is batting .383, and honestly, that might be the biggest surprise in the history of the league.
It's true. It probably is.
He's batting .383.
He's having a great year. The bats aren't the problem.
Guys like Davis, Smith, no, they're not. Conforto's batting over 300. McNeil obviously had a great year last year. If he's batting just under 300, it's not like these guys are not hitting.
No, it's hitting with runners in scoring position. They're incapable of doing that, and the pitching stinks. It's true. Diaz has been fantastic his last 5-6 outings, but Betances has struggled a little bit this year. Had that one terrible outing in Atlanta, and then it's just you can't count on Familia. You can't count on anybody in that bullpen besides Seth Lugo. And when your third guy out of the bullpen every game, you have to count on is Chasen Shreve, you're just not going to win ball games. Now, no disrespect to Chasen Shreve. He's just not a major league pitcher. And I hate to say that because he has had a few nice outings this year, but the bullpen and the way they've used their pitching this year, the first-year manager, whatever, Rojas will get better. But Then Wagon needs to be fired, put on a rocket ship with no space helmet, and just send up and never come back. He's a disgrace. He really is.
Here's my thoughts on the New York Mets, and it's honestly the same thing every year because I know you. We come into school and you're like, "Oh, the Mets are going to be great this year," whatever. They, on paper, come into the league every year, and people are like, "Wow, this is a good team. This is a
It
good."
is a good team. They always have a good team. Continue.
On paper, they have a good ball club every year. It's not like one year. It is every year they come into the league, they have a good ball club, and they just underperform. They get injured a little bit, and they underperform. They play with no pride. As a Red Sox fan, I was watching that series with the Red Sox and the Mets. The Red Sox have no business winning a game against the New York Mets, and we took 2 out of 4. In New York, we took 2 games.
We won both in Fenway. You won both in City.
There's no reason that series should have been split. This Mets team is so much more talented than the Red Sox. They have starting pitching on paper that should honestly get up there with some of the top rotations in the league.
Completely disagree.
Brown's not banged, or he's a little banged up. That's fine. But Porcello, on paper, is a good pitcher last year. He should have been performing this year. Matt, I've already discussed him. He's horrible, in my opinion. And I think he's just going to get worse because his attitude. Michael Walker's a good pitcher.
He's been good this year. He actually has. I've enjoyed watching him. And David Peterson is who you're going to say next, who he's been very good.
When you look at a good lineup with good players on paper and bats that unarguably are very, very good this year, you just got to start looking to upper management in general, because that's where the problems really are. Because this is not a bad team, but it's just the decisions from upper management where, they're 9-14. They're the worst team in the NL East, and you can't debate it.
All in all, I'll tell you why they're constantly underperforming this year and in years prior. It's because they're stupid. Not the management, but the players too. They're in a 2-0. Okay, look, listen. I was watching last night. 2 nights ago. Ahmed Rosario. It was an 0-0 count. Okay, first at bat of the game. This is what he does. Slider, way out, like a nice, okay slider breaking away. He reaches for it, strike 1. Fine. Then he takes a strike down the middle, fastball, strike 2. Then he reaches for the same exact pitch he swung at on strike 1 for a strikeout. What the hell is he doing? They have no – it's like they don't watch the game. It's like then the next guy comes up and Ramos swings at that same slider and taps the grounder to second and can't get out of the box because he's slow. But it's just infuriating. And I know Pete is a great ball player. I know Pete will get better. I'm not even worried about him. But I think you throw in the towel this season. They already brought up 3 prospects. They brought up the 3 best ones. Ryan Mauricio, Jimenez is already up here, Matt Allen, Francisco Alvarez. But when those are your 3 best prospects, and no disrespect to them, it's terrible. It's just an atrocity.
So let me give a quick thought on that. So we're talking about how good the Mets have been at the plate this year. On paper, average, right? But when you look at runners in scoring position, this is where
they're the worst team in the league.
It's gotten really bad.
Worst team in the league.
When a runner gets in scoring position, it's almost like they lose all sense of discipline at the plate. They are swinging left and right. No question about it. If there is a runner on second, a runner on third, you cannot strike out in the MLB. You cannot do it.
I agree.
The ball has to be in play. You have to move runners over. You have to manufacture runs. When the runners are in scoring position, that's how you win games. It's the same thing with golf.
It's the inability.
But if you can't put the ball into the hole, you're not going to score well. If you can't drive runners in when it matters and get runs in late innings when it matters, you're not going to win games. So, lead off single, fine. But you got to bring the runner in. That's the end of the day.
It's the inability to have discipline at the plate, like you said. It's the inability to realize, okay, listen, I have a runner on second and third with 2 away. We're it's a tie game, whatever, in the 3rd inning. Let's get on the board early. Okay, you don't need to hit a 3-run homer. Just take it right back up the middle, hit a single, drive 2 runs in, perfect. Guess what? If that's the ground, that's more than enough to win the game.
Oh,
but it's what Ramos is doing, swinging for the fences. It's what Pete has a little hitch in his swing this year that Keith Hernandez has pointed out on the broadcast. And it's very frustrating to watch him. And I always say the day I'm not watching today, and then Daniel knows. I'm on my couch at 7:10, ready to get hurt again. But it's an infuriating ball club to root for. But I mean, it's just what we live with as Met fans.
Yeah,
We've
and
had two teams in the past decade that we could be proud of.
unfortunately, I know it's you've accepted it as a Mets fan, but it is quite frankly it is the same thing every year.
I mean, it is. It just is. And once they
On
sell,
paper, this is the year. This is the year. Lo and behold, 20 games into the season, we're in last place, and
yeah,
the season's basically gone to shit. So, it's just the same thing over and over again, and that's what's hard to cheer for. Is you expect, and then the team just lets you down. Let me go back to the Red Sox for a second here because I had a quick thought. So, part of the reason why I think, listen, we lost 4-2 yesterday to the Yankees. Who was
yeah.
on the mound? J.A. Happ. That is atrocious that we scored 2 runs on J.A. Happ. He went 5 1/3, put up 1 run on 2 hits. Okay, J.A. Happ is the worst pitcher in the rotation, if I'm not mistaken. He is the worst pitcher by far in their rotation.
Brian Houston would agree.
More than 1 run on him, like that's the things that infuriate you. And here are the problems. I told you that these hitters that we didn't think were going to be good have been good this year, right?
Yeah.
Like Chavis and Verdugo and Peraza, whatever. The problem with our team is I think those guys, some of the younger guys, are watching Bogarts, Martinez, Devers, stars, quite frankly, last year, putting up big numbers. They're watching them struggle, and that is just demoralizing for a team. To watch JD Martinez get up to the plate, take 3 awful swings, strike out, and walk back to the dugout like nothing happened, no expression on his face. He plays with no emotion, no heart. To watch him strike out like that time and time again, even with runners in score, that is demoralizing for a ball club. That is demoralizing, and that is why you lose games.
Listen,
Now,
both teams
he'll figure it out, and I'm not worried about him, but it's just little things like that just kill you as a team, demoralizing.
But listen, for both teams, the issue with both the Mets and the Red Sox, and I think more of the Red Sox, honestly, is it's just pitching. It really is. Listen, the bats are not going to be there every game, which but you need a bullpen that can go in. Okay, you need them to go 4 innings and give up 2 runs, fine. But for both teams, it's like you can get to that 3rd inning with the bullpen, and then you bring that guy in that needs to hold it to give your offense a chance to hit against their bullpen and get stuff going, and it just implodes. And once a team goes down 3 or gives up 3-4 runs in an inning, when that pitcher is supposed to lock it down, okay, let's get back to the plate and let's score, that's what's demoralizing. And that's why guys like JD Martinez, Pete Alonso, Ramos, Devers, if I'm not mistaken, is struggling, are trying to hit home runs. And that's what's causing them to get under balls, to strike out, to only look home run, and to not be able to, okay, all I need to do is drive it up to middle and get a rally going. The mentality changes completely at the plate when you know your bullpen behind you has an inability to put up a scoreless inning. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's where my thinking is.
Absolutely, completely agree. It's definitely a mentality at the plate. The Red Sox, honestly, they're playing almost to the form of like a playoff game right now, where our pitchers cannot go more than 3 innings. We cannot throw a pitcher more than 3 innings. It is so hard to watch a starting pitcher go out. Everyone's like, oh, the guys in the Red Sox booth are like, this is going to be a great game. It's a new prospect. We're just going to throw him, see how it goes. And he goes 2 1/3 and gives up 4 runs. And you got to pull him because he's too young and he can't handle it. So we pull him out. And it's so hard to watch that we're throwing 6-7 arms a night because we can't have a guy that goes 5 1/2, 5 1/3, whatever, and just gives you a decent outing. I don't think we've had a decent outing. Just give up 1-2 runs. Give us something. Give the batter something to hit for right now because we're giving up 5-6 runs in the first 3 innings of the game, and the game's over. The game is over for us after the first 3 innings because our starting pitching cannot throw a decent outing. They cannot do it.
Now let me ask you this. Obviously, there still is a trade deadline this year, and I think the Red Sox will be sellers. The Red Sox got a good haul from the Mookie trade, especially Jeter Downs. But listen, would you be open to trading a guy like JD to get pitching, or would pitching prospects, or be open to trading a guy like I don't even know, like Chavis, maybe some of these guys who are experienced veterans that can go to a contender and you can get some young and pitching back that you can build towards the future, because they have young bats like Verdugo. I'm sure Pilar will be around next year if he continues to have the season he is having. But what would you do at the deadline?
If I'm the GM, I'm looking at this roster right now. Now, let me get this out of the way, and I said it earlier. Chris Sale, we're missing our ace. So it's not like, this is like something we have to panic about. Chris Sale, who was arguably the best pitcher in baseball last year, he's gone for the season. Like, that's no one's fault. Now, it is his fault because he decided to get the surgery way too late. I don't know what he was thinking, but like, he could have gotten that at the end of last year. He would have been fine for the middle of this year. But he's gone. Eduardo Rodriguez, who had a great year, is hurt. So we do have guys that are injured that can pitch and have proven that they can pitch.
Yeah.
Is 3 guys in a rotation enough, especially when it comes to playoff time? Probably not. We probably need one more guy that can go. So I wouldn't be opposed to trading a guy like maybe Chavis, maybe Moreland, I don't think he's going to last. He's playing great right now, but I think he's a guy you can trade and it's fine, whatever, because we have Chavis that can play first. I wouldn't trade JD just because I think he's too valuable of a piece. I think he's going to get going, and I think that he's going to be a very important piece when it comes to the future. But I do think we need one more guy that can go. And this little process that we have going on right now, where we're just bringing up one prospect per rotation to just throw them and see what the heck happens. Like, I was in Maine with my brother at my grandparents last week, and
in Kenny Bunkport.
Yep, and we were watching the game, and we walked in the house. We were at dinner. We walked in the house. It was me and my brother. My brother knows a lot about baseball. You know that. He walked in.
Great kid.
And the game was on, and we might have been down maybe 2-1. I don't know what the score was. Early in the game, and there was a guy on the mound. I don't even know. I still, to this day, don't know who it was. Might have been number 77.
Chris Mazza.
I don't know who it was. Whatever. We looked in the house. We get in, and my brother looked at the screen and just goes, "Who is that? Who is that?"
Exactly.
That is what we're doing. We're pulling guys up left and right, double A, triple A, literally throwing the kitchen sink just to see if we can have one guy go more than 6 innings. Like, this is gotten to the point where it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. We can't have a single guy throw an outing that we can support with our bats. It is ridiculous that we can't find a pitcher to add to our rotation that can bring us some sort of consistency, some sort of reliability. It is awful, and it kills the season. Absolutely kills the season. Yeah, and you're right.
This is what I'll say about the Mets, at the deadline, stuff like this. You have a great prospect in Andres Jimenez, who's been fantastic so far this year. And Rosario's been atrocious. And unfortunately, I love Rosario. My father, he loves Rosario. I think I would not be opposed to moving him. I would not be opposed to moving him for pitching prospects, because really this team has bats behind him, and the 2 best prospects in the organization play his position, and they're already better defensively than he is. And I don't think he's ever going to be a Gold Glove caliber, which Jimenez and Mauricio already are, and you can't move him to third because that's where J.D. Davis is, and he's a keeper. But they're in a spot where they've moved the wrong guys in trades. They've moved the pitching prospects that they've needed for depth for this year, that forced them to spend $20 million on guys like Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha. But it's just, seriously, it's just, sometimes I look at Twitter. I'm a huge tweeter. Everyone knows that.
Oh, absolutely.
Follows this.
You know what I'm ready? I believe your Twitter is, what is it, Sam Carus 5? Something like that. Sam Carus. Give him a follow. He's a great follow. Constantly tweeting about the Mets, their abysmal season, and basketball when it comes into play, football, you name it. Absolutely great follow on Twitter.
Thank you. I appreciate that greatly. But it's infuriating to know that now he's brought up the three best prospects, and you just knowing Birdie Van Wagen is going to sell the house because they're going to be right within striking distance to make the playoffs, and he's going to throw the entire rest of the farm system away to get a veteran, a new bat, maybe a pitcher to slide into the rotation just to go for it this year. And it's not going to pay out as it usually doesn't, which you saw last year with Stroman.
So,
I mean, it's infuriating, but I mean, we're gonna wrap this up soon. I got to get to the gym, so I'm trying to get these games in. But if you have any closing remarks, please go ahead.
let me ask you one more question.
Go ahead.
So, you tweet a lot, obviously,
A
right?
lot.
It's all about it's mainly upper management focused, I would say.
I would say so. Maybe a little too much, but yeah.
Upper management problem. So I want you to. I just want your thoughts at the trade deadline, whatever. Upper management, like, what do you want to see from them? Do you think you should scrap the season entirely and just do whatever you want, or do you want to see them make a certain move that can maybe save the season a little?
I think they should wave the white flag this season, but next season I think they definitely have the tool, definitely the bats to make a run to line up. But I would scrap the season, and I would just not, for the love of God, Brody, if somehow you see this, no, like, obviously there's hard feelings. Obviously I don't like you, but listen, you cannot trade, especially the prospects you brought up, like Matthew Allen is still there. You already decimated the pitching roster in the farm system. Just under no circumstances trade no prospects in our top 10 for the season. You know how that worked out. We traded freaking Jared Kelenic and Justin Dunn, who are now Justin Dunn's making starts for the Mariners this year, who we could have used the pitching depth this year. It's just infuriating to look at. But obviously, if you see my Twitter, you know I love our prospects. I don't want any of them to move. But, I mean, it's just simple as that. I just think you need to scrap the season this year. You're clearly not good enough because you've built a horrific roster around this lineup, and you should be ashamed of yourself. It's simple as that. But I think next time that we have this, it's definitely going to be a series, right?
Oh yeah,
And
that's it.
I think we should. I think we should talk football.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Talk Giants and Saints.
Yeah, came out late.
So this was the rant. That's our name of the series. I'm gonna fire this up, post this, take a listen, like, subscribe. Obviously, follow Daniel on Twitter, Daniel Arena. Um,
003 underscore 03, something like that.
thank you everyone.
I'm not quite as active, but I do give a brief thought every once in a while. The other night I was a little heated. I was just tweeting the update to the Red Sox score. We ended up losing 17-2 or something to the Rays, and I was just tweeting every inning, 5-0, 7-0, just because I just couldn't stand watching it.
Listen, I will say this. This is going to be an entertaining series. It's going to be very fun. We both have big mouths when it comes to our sports team. So thank you everyone for listening, and stay safe. Wear your mask. See you later.